What's up, guys? It's Colton Smith. I just finished my master's in applied mathematics and thought it would be a good time to do a recap of my academic career. If you're interested in engineering programs, specifically industrial engineering or applied mathematics programs, this video should give you insight into the types of classes you'll take and what you can expect to learn. I did my undergraduate degree in industrial engineering at the University of Washington. I was a strong high school student, but quickly found out that I had not developed the proper study skills and that it was going to be a lot more difficult. At the University of Washington, you have to take the required prerequisite engineering classes and then apply to a specific department at the end of your freshman or sophomore year. So it was imperative that you do well in these prerequisite classes. I began taking the introduction to bioengineering, the first part of the chemistry series, and Calc 2. I did not like chemistry, and bioengineering probably was then not going to be for me. The winter quarter, I continued the chemistry series, took a required English class, and finished off the Intro Calc series. I did enjoy the math classes a lot more than chemistry, as my grades show, but still neither grades were spectacular. Then in the spring, I did not pass Art History of India. I took the final chemistry series and received a poor grade, but I did take Intro to Differential Equations and Linear Algebra, which I did okay in, and these were classes I definitely enjoyed and at the time was interested in higher level mathematics classes. So at this point, though, I definitely needed to improve my grades if I wanted to be able to get into an engineering department. My sophomore year was the year I discovered programming and applied mathematics. My fall quarter, I took the Introduction to Applied Mathematics, which was beginning scientific computing, which was my first introduction to programming, which was in MATLAB, as well as some basic numerical methods. I really enjoyed this class and did quite well, which was the necessary confidence boost after a poor freshman year. I also took Introduction to Astronomy, the physics-based version, which was very interesting, and I began the physics series, which I would take through this year. I did better than the chemistry. Still not great, but my grades improved, and this was the first quarter I got on the Dean's List, which is a 3.5 or above. Then, in the winter quarter, I took my first computer science class. And this is really where I began gaining some confidence and really was interested in that type of coursework. I did pretty well, and I also took a philosophy class, which was an Introduction to Philosophy of Mathematics, which is very interesting, and I definitely recommend it if you are interested in STEM classes to supplement it with some philosophy classes as well. I also took the next course in the physics series and did okay. Going into spring, I then took the next computer science class, which was a little bit more challenging, but definitely built a solid foundation for the ability to pick up other languages or then take more advanced coursework in computer science department. I took my first industrial engineering class, which was probability and statistics for engineers, which was my first exposure to statistics in general, and I found it very interesting. And at that point then I realized I might want to continue in industrial engineering and apply to that at the end of this year. I took the final physics class and did okay once again. And now my grades did improve, but were still not spectacular. So this summer I was going to be applying for my last chance to get into the engineering departments of my choice. Industrial engineering I listed as my top choice, and thankfully I got in. Now it's my junior year and we had gotten into a major, so things were going a lot more smoothly and the coursework got more interesting as well. So my fall quarter I took engineering statics, which was in the aeronautical department, a lot of continuation from mechanics and the other physics classes I had taken previously. I took the Introduction to Economics Financial Analysis for Engineers, which is in the industrial engineering department. I took the beginning of the Operations Research series, which was kind of a core piece of coursework in the industrial engineering department, and this began with linear network programming. I also took the Introduction to Material Science in Engineering, so this was relatively related to chemistry, but it was enjoyable, and I did fairly well. As you'll see, my grades started to improve quite a bit, both because I had now developed much better study skills, but also because once you get into your major, they don't need to be as cutthroat in regards to the grading and can give more generous grades as a whole. Then in my winter quarter, I took the Introduction to Electrical Engineering. I took the continuation of the Introduction Statistics class for engineers that I took in the industrial engineering class prior, which was design of experiments and regression analysis. So this was my first introduction to linear regression, ANOVA, a lot more advanced statistical type tests, and was definitely something I enjoyed. I knew I was going to probably continue on and to take more statistics classes if available. I also took the continuation of that Operations Research series, which now is stochastic modeling and decision analysis, which included basic introductions to Markov models and other types of stochastic models in general. I took kinematics and dynamics, which is in the mechanical engineering department, which was challenging, but definitely interesting and a culmination kind of my physics and hands-on mathematics experience. Then in the spring, I took the Introduction to Mechanics and Materials, which is in the Civil Engineering department. I actually really enjoyed this class. I think civil engineering would be something I would be interested in if I hadn't done industrial engineering. I took a human-centered design and engineering course, which is Intro to Technical Communication, which is required for all engineering students at the University of Washington. And I think it's great. You write like memos and very professional documents on maybe advanced scientific topics, and really helping to develop the skills necessary to translate complex information into something digestible for your average executive or other business person. I then took the quality control, statistical quality control in the industrial engineering department, which was now a next step up from some of the previous statistics coursework I'd done. And then I took human factors-centered design, which was very interesting. So this was more about learning about design of dashboards and ergonomics of working movements and the things that can go wrong in those if you don't account for how humans actually interact with these types of products. And that has a huge impact in the world. So it was an interesting class to be exposed to. And so this finished up my junior year. You may have noticed that in my junior year, I took a lot of introduction to other types of engineering departments. This was a common theme throughout the industrial engineering coursework, as they wanted to get exposed, at least at a basic level, to these other areas, as industrial engineers can often go into those different fields and help optimize their processes or work in the operations space in general. So that is why we were required to take all those different classes in the various engineering departments. So going into my senior year, I wanted to get my minor in applied mathematics, which required me to take a couple more of those classes. I had to finish off the industrial engineering coursework and also do a couple of electives. So my fall quarter, I took the next numerical methods scientific computing class, which was in the applied math department, which was really a split between theoretical components and then applying it through numerical methods and use of MATLAB and other programming tools. I also took the non-majors data structures and algorithms in the computer science department. This was, from what I was told, really the fundamentals that were necessary to go then and maybe even work on the industry or have a basic understanding to pick up any other language required and really get your hands dirty and have a strong understanding of data structures and algorithms and really the theoretical component of computer science. So that was a class that I'm very happy I took at that time and was definitely challenging but very rewarding. I then took the Introduction to Manufacturing Systems. So this was now beginning to focus a lot more on hands-on approaches in the real world. So in this class, we actually did a project at a beer brewing company where we were looking at improving their processes and overall production capabilities. I also took Layout and Material Handling, which I do not quite remember much about, but a lot of these courses now kind of blended together and really were focusing on getting you ready for the real world. Then in the winter, I took computational methods for data analysis in the applied math department. So this was my first exposure to data science. So this included PCA, computer vision, neural nets, basic machine learning, and really got me excited about that space and something I really enjoyed. And the format of this class was also very interesting as well, as it was all just project and assignment based. So we would put together actually small papers for each assignment that covered kind of a very more open-ended type of assignment that really let us explore it from just a data analysis perspective and take it in a variety of directions while answering some important questions. And then I took simulation in the industrial engineering department, which was about simulating inventory and other processes that could occur in a manufacturing environment. And then I began the two-part of our capstone. So the first quarter was design and manufacturing firms, which was looking at what we're going to be having to do in our capstone, the types of things we're going to have to deliver, the possible companies that you could work at, how this all worked in like a project management perspective. And then we go into my spring semester, my final one. I take the high performance scientific computing to finish off my applied math minor. This was probably one of my most challenging classes throughout all of my undergrad. It was in C++. It was quite difficult. My first really advanced computing class, but very enjoyable. I found it very interesting and something that I would love to be able to pick up and do in the future as well. Then I finished off the capstone. So our capstone was at the radiology department at the UW Medical Center, and we were looking at helping them build a tool to best schedule radiologists because they have a lot of different requirements on who can do what and when they need to be doing certain things. So we helped streamline that process as it previously was being done by hand. We created a nice web-based application that let them properly allocate the radiologists and improve their performance overall. Then I took a similar philosophy class to what I took earlier on. So this was philosophy of statistics and induction on probability. This was very interesting. I really enjoyed this. I think the philosophy classes in this kind of mathematics or statistics area give you a good perspective on the types of things that you do handle in like a STEM environment and really just make you a more rounded individual. And so I really enjoyed the philosophy class as well. So this was the culmination of my undergraduate. So I finished off my industrial engineering, bachelor's of science, and had a minor in applied mathematics. Had quite the improvement of GPA coming from all the way from freshman year with very underperforming, and was able to improve it enough to finish off with above a 3.5, which I was very happy about. So overall, I thought the industrial engineering program prepared me really well to be able to go into work in a manufacturing type operations environment, as well as I was able to supplement it with enough applied math and computer science department classes that would enable me to also continue into data sciences, which I was interested in at that time. Now, a year later, I decided to go back to get my master's in applied mathematics at Columbia University. The program consisted of taking 5 core courses from the applied mathematics department and then 5 electives from departments of your choosing. That first fall semester, I took Intro to Dynamical Systems, which was really working hands-on with differential equations and not too difficult from a theoretical analytical perspective, which I was a little worried about going into this program as I was always more interested in the computational side of applied math. I took partial differential equations, which was awful. I did not enjoy this class and definitely was way too advanced from a theoretical and analytical perspective, but I guess it is important to understand as PDEs are really the core of a lot of applied mathematicians research and coursework that I would continue to take. Then I took Intro to Numerical Methods, which was pretty similar to the second numerical methods class I took at the University of Washington, but it was good review and covered good material. Then I took Global Capital Markets in the Industrial Engineering Department, which was taught by an adjunct professor, which covered all of the basics of fixed income, stocks, options, and other derivatives. This was mostly a review for me at this point, as I had already begun being interested in finance, but was good to take in a formal setting nonetheless. Then we went into our spring semester and took the next numerical methods class, which was all about PDEs. So this was a little more enjoyable since it was more on the computational side. Still had quite a bit of theoretical and analytical component, but was bearable and very interesting. This was probably the most challenging but rewarding class I took in my master's program. I then took an Introduction to Data Science and Industry taught by an adjunct professor from LIFT. This class was interesting. At this time, it also had been quite a bit of review, but it was always nice to improve my understanding of machine learning from a theoretical perspective, so covering a lot more probability and really the backbones of these different types of models. We also had to take a research seminar where we would go and listen to different lectures in a given department or at other departments and write a little bit of analysis on them, so got a good exposure to encourage us to go and listen to see what's out there. Then I took Computational Discrete Optimization in the Industrial Engineering Department, so this was all working on algorithms on graphs, and what was quite interesting, challenging, no tests, which was nice. So the coursework was difficult as I had not had too much exposure to writing a lot of these types of problems in an optimization setting, so this was definitely a useful skill and something I'm glad I took during this time. Then I took Non-Parametric Statistics, which was interesting, really just re-understanding statistics all from a combinatorics perspective, which I enjoyed, and something that I feel like is nice to have. Then this fall, I had 2 more classes to finish off my degree, and so I took linear regression models, which was also a lot of review, but I really wanted to understand it more from a statistician's perspective, as a lot of the interview questions that I had come across in quantitative research positions at financial firms focus a lot on these type of problems, and so having a good understanding of these core principles really are applicable to a lot of other machine learning models as well, and so I enjoyed this and found it as a good refresher. Then the Bayesian statistics, though, was much more challenging and assumed a very in-depth knowledge of statistical inference in classes that I hadn't really taken from a statistician's perspective. I mean, though I did take some stat classes in undergrad in industrial engineering, it really wasn't the same. So this had a lot more in-depth type of analysis that I wasn't exposed to, but I was able to pick it up, and I found Bayesian statistics quite interesting and a class that I would definitely recommend. That wraps up my time at Columbia. I really enjoyed the program and thought that I got to advance my applied mathematics knowledge, but also supplement it with classes in the various departments, including statistics and industrial engineering, which I really enjoyed. I would recommend both of these types of programs to anyone interested. I thought industrial engineering gave me a strong foundation to then go into data science and really get more hands-on, but also a strong understanding from a business perspective. And I think the applied math department is probably your best bet for getting a strong fundamental understanding of the necessary components that will always be relevant in machine learning and data science going forward. And so I hope this video gave you a little bit of insight into those types of classes that you take in those programs. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll always be updated on new videos, and have a good day.